Welcome back, guys, to the Dreaming in Color podcast. I am your host, Tahirah Banks Webster.
And I'm your co-host, Gino Webster. You know what it is.
Yeah, man, what is up? If you are joining us for the very first time, welcome to the Dreaming in Color podcast. If you've been here before, welcome back. We're so happy to have you here. As a reminder for all of the newcomers, Dreaming in Color is a community for people who are ready to trade a black and white life for one that is rich and colorful, bold and beautiful. Gino and I are partners in business and in life. We've spent the past decade building our businesses from $0 to millions in revenue. And now we're on a mission to create a future where anybody, regardless of their background, can not only pursue their boldest dreams, dream their boldest dreams, but they can access the ideas, the resources, the technology, the people, and everything they need to do to make those dreams a reality, whatever they may be. So through this podcast and our content, we are sharing our lessons to date, and with the hope that it can inspire you, with the hope that it can help you, with the hope that you could just hear one thing and it can transform some aspect of your life, because that is very real and we have lived that in many ways. So thank you guys for joining. We're happy to have you here. Gino, this is episode 10.
It is.
It's a milestone moment, guys. Let me just say, this is a milestone moment because we have talked for a very long time about doing a podcast, as we stated in like earlier episodes. And the fact that we've gotten to number 10, it's a win. And it just goes to show that you just have to get started and keep going. This process has not been perfect. Can't say that, we're just blowing up. The podcast is completely blown up. But we are enjoying the process. We're enjoying the journey. We're learning. We're receiving the feedback. We're appreciative of it. And we're going to keep going. We are very excited for what is next as we close out this season in the next few episodes and then prepare for season 2. Yeah.
Love it.
Love
Wife, question. Why are we matching? I just realized that.
You just realized we're matching? If you go back to every episode, do you know why do you?
It was good. It was good. It was good. You got me good.
Guys, Gino likes to act brand new. This is my default. Since I was a teenager, I've always dreamed of having a boyfriend and then a husband that I can match with. And so we are always going to be somewhat color coordinated. Like I just like that. If we're not like matching, like we're gonna be color coordinated. That's what we do. I feel like that's important, babes. Like that's like a trademark with us.
I know, but every time it's like, wow, she did it.
You go back through every podcast episode. If you are in one color, I'm like in a hue that is like close to it, or it goes with it. Like we're not gonna be all over the place. He like to act brand new. He like, why are we matching? But what are we discussing today? We're talking business today. Hey, yeah. But like we've talked personal on the podcast. We've talked kind of mindset. Today we're talking business. This is a business conversation. This is for the people, and we have a lot of people who follow us online who are very keen on creating their own businesses, building their own business, and so this episode is for you. Like,
and even if you're not trying to build a business or you are in business, we speak a lot about mindset as well, so you can get something out of that. There's always something here for everybody.
For everybody, absolutely. That's a good point, and the reality is, even if you don't own the business, it is very helpful to think like a business owner. Because if you're working in an organization and you think like the boss, that's the fastest way to climb to grow, That's true. So today what are we discussing? We are discussing, the topic is 5 decisions that will destroy your business. That is a fiery topic. And we chose this one because winning in business is equal parts what you do, the action you take, and it's also what you know, because you have to know what to do to actually do it, right? And we have learned these lessons a lot of ways, in a lot of very interesting through a lot of interesting experiences. So all action isn't good action, but the decisions you make can set you up for massive success. Like I'm talking about wins, just stacking, or it can lead you to some really catastrophic failures. And so today we're discussing some of the tough lessons that we've learned in business, and thankfully we're able to push through. And we're going to share some suggestions for how you can approach them when you're faced with these decisions in your own business. So the podcast episode is 5 decisions that will destroy your business and how you can fix them. These are
Love
those.
it. Love it. Let's go.
Let's do it. Gino,
Wife.
husband, you have had the opportunity to connect with a lot of young entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Like you're a people's person. We were talking about that today.
Yeah.
You are a really good guy and people naturally gravitate to you. I can say that. Um so you connect with a lot of younger entrepreneurs and you listen to their stories. And because we talk about so much, you share some of the moves and some of the things they're doing or they're thinking of doing with me. And on occasion, you will
Hmm.
be sharing with me and you'd be like, babes, like, and I'll be like, yo, babes, like, you have to tell them, like, don't do it. Like,
Yep.
I know people have to learn their own lessons in business, but like, don't let him or don't let her make that decision. It's gonna crush their business. Like, we've had those conversations.
Hmm.
So without going into all the, without putting
I got
anybody on
you. I got
blast,
you. Yeah.
what's one of the most out there things you've heard a young entrepreneur say when, like, very early in their business career? And does it ever make you reflect on decisions perhaps we made or we considered making, stupid things we did very early in our career?
Look, Tahirah, all the time, all the time. So the craziest thing I've recently heard was that.
Mhm.
All right, so all the guys, we believe in the barbershop culture. You know that once you find your barber, that's your barber until you die. That's just
Mhm.
what it is.
Mhm.
And so I really value the conversations with my barber. It's like the perfect reason to get away from my wife.
Oh,
And
goodness.
my barber's very young, and he has that drive and hunger that I remember that I had. I still have it to some degree, but he's only 22 years old, but he got the skills, right?
Yeah.
So one day
Word
I'm
to
in the
Randy.
chair and he says, "Hey, I want to run something by you." I was like, "Okay, shoot." He said, "I'm thinking about moving." I said, "Moving? Like you just got into a new apartment. Where you going?" He was like, "No, the shop." And so, hold up. The first thing that comes to mind is, where am I gonna get my hair cut? Like, who's gonna cut my hair? Where are you moving to? And I gotta do this all over again, man. Stop playing. So he says, all right, he wants to move down the street. I said, move down the street. Where? So and he tells me it's like a couple of streets. So it will no longer take me 2 minutes to get to the shop.
Mhm.
I can run there in 30 seconds if I wanted to.
But why did he want to move?
Wait, I'm getting to that.
Wait,
I'm
I'm
getting
sorry.
to that. So I asked, bro, why do you want to move? And he
Mhm.
says, it's on the ground floor. So right now he currently operates on the second floor.
Mhm.
So it's ground floor, then the second floor. He
Mhm.
said, right, because he wants more traffic, da 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 da. He wants to sell the products out of the bigger space, and he wants to rent out chairs. That's a big thing here, where they rent out chairs and
Of
barbers
course.
pay them for a chair.
Mhm.
So now I'm like, straight up, are you crazy? He said, what do you mean? I was like, you're thinking about the wrong problem. That's not your issue right now. You need to figure out how to get 10 more clients by tomorrow.
Mhm.
Like, your and rent is good. So here's a, let's say hypothetically, rent is where he's at is $1,500. He's gonna be paying 7K to be on the ground floor,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, was I ever like this? And this is the difference between slow thinking and fast thinking. And if you don't get the reference, I implore you to read the book. It's Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's a great read.
Mhm.
And I remember when we were getting started and we were younger, and we're just making decisions because it sounds great in our head, but we
Yeah.
hadn't really stopped taking the time to plot out all of the details. So, like, that's my experience. And
Yeah.
I know you've had a lot of your own as well. Come on, put
Yeah.
us on game to here. Tell us what you got.
Yeah. Like when you told me about, the situation with your barber, I was like, yeah, babe, it's like, no, like that don't make no sense, but we know what that feels like. We know what it feels like to want to, especially like for me when I was in my late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, mid late 20s, like just acting like for a long time, just making decisions that felt good, um but that didn't make sense. And there are different levels to that, I think. And it's coming to a point where you you have to get to a place where you understand, like, whatever this instant emotional decision is you're trying to make, like, you got to think this thing through, like you got to think your decisions through. So that's why we wanted to have this conversation today, because there's some decisions that are could be more detrimental than others.
And,
And
and and you know something too?
mhm,
What I really respect about him is that, so when I told him, look, you need to get more clients, like you're in a perfect location. I was like,
mhm,
what do you think? Like, people come in and they go out. They love that they can just walk to you
yeah,
and they don't mind getting on the elevator or even like
mhm,
walking up the steps. Who cares? Like, you're like right there. We
yeah,
can be in and out 30
you know,
minutes up the road. And what I respect about him, that I realized that a lot of the young people, like, they don't really care about your opinion,
mhm,
right? So
that's
they'll,
facts.
and in the end, they'll just do whatever they want to do, and
Yeah,
then they have to figure out and learn that hard lesson
that was
on
me.
their own,
Yeah, that
right?
was that joker. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he listened.
Yeah.
He did.
Uh,
He listened, and he just grew his business, and he's continued to grow his business. Yeah, that is something that you figure out. Uh, Hopefully sooner than later, is that getting mentors, people who are ahead of you and who know a lot more than you, and who, when you listen to them, they're kind of annoying when they talk about stuff, but like, it makes more sense. um like figuring out that those are the types of people you need to be taking advice from, and not necessarily your friends or people who like just gonna gas you up. Like that's super important. But yeah.
you do you remember that time we were heading into a meeting and you told me, look, don't ask any questions. Just save it. Whatever questions you have, we'll
Mhm,
figure it out later. You
mhm,
said just listen. Just listen,
mhm.
soak it all up. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important because I know in the moment you're excited, you want to ask a lot of questions,
Mhm.
but sometimes you just gotta sit alone and
You
listen.
sit
Sit,
still.
listen, and learn. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
soak it
that's really
all up.
important, guys. And when you're willing to kind of kick back and listen and take things in, like, the universe will start to unfold itself.
Correct.
So let's jump into it. The people have waited long enough.
Yep.
5 decisions that will destroy your business. Decision number 1 is one that I've made before, and this is,
Mm,
I made it in an interesting way, but my story is less important to this one. Decision number 1 that will destroy your business, or can destroy your business, is taking money from the wrong places.
mhm.
Taking money from the wrong places. This is, and why I thought it was important for us to start with this one, Gino, because we were kind of going back and forth
Yeah.
about what should be number 1. This one is important, is because, especially for new entrepreneurs, when you have a fresh idea, everyone knows you're starting a business. The first thing you're thinking about is, hey, how do I get some money? How
Right.
do I get some money going to this? Because to get this thing going, I need money. And there are a lot of programs, and there are a lot of resources that are out there and available to people, uh, that when you're just starting out with a quote unquote idea, um, and you want to have that fast success, you want to have that quick success, you don't want to kind of slog it out, you don't want to grind it out. Taking a loan sounds attractive. Racking up a bunch of credit card debt sounds attractive. Getting a partner who has a whole bunch of money, that sounds attractive.
Right. Spending money that you ain't got, that you
Spending
didn't
money
have
that's
to,
not yours, that you don't
that you don't
have,
have to put in. You're right.
that
Sounds
sounds
attractive.
really attractive. And doing that without even having to test the concept, without having to kind of put the effort in, that sounds really, really attractive, because you already know, look, I got like in our business, we got subscriptions to pay. We got to pay our teams. Like it's a lot. So why not like go out there and get some outside money? That's the natural, that's the default. For
Right.
me, I've shared the story before about when I started my recording studio when I was like, it was like 19, 20, 21 around I can't, yeah, I was like 20. I was 20.
Mhm.
um I remember like I raised money from my family and friends, like family and friends of family. And and when it failed, I felt such a letdown. I felt such a sense of just like I had failed people because I had just bungled this. But that wasn't what the issue wasn't taking the money. The issue in taking the money was that when I took that money, it made, oh, I got all the gear, I got all the equipment, I got the new space, I got the couch. I am set. I'm Gucci, right? That's what I felt.
Mhm.
And in doing that, what was I not thinking about? I got a logo. I got all of the trappings of
Mhm.
business success, but what did I not get? I did not generate a sale. I should did not go out and find business, find clients. Like I wasn't doing any of that because I didn't need to do it to actually make the studio work in the initial part. Why? Because I had all of this money that people had poured into the business that allowed me to pay for all the different resources I needed to get it started. And so by the time that money ran out, once I had put it in, and but by month 2 or 3, I was like, oh shit, like, oh my God, like when I'm not getting any business, like no one is coming to this, like I have no money, like I'm about to be out of business. And that was a really important lesson for me personally to learn, because my motto, even to this day, we have built thoughtful. We say it in the intro, from $0 and 0 cents to millions in revenue. That's all bootstrap. We take no loans. We're not, we have one credit card with a very low limit, and we don't, that's not something we use for business. like like we have bootstrapped this, and me, that has been my philosophy because of that mistake I made at 20, because I realized, hey, you were so caught up in raising that money and buying up all the things that you thought were the trappings of business success, that you didn't do the number one thing you need to do to make a business successful. You didn't sell. You didn't bring in customers. And so now what? You're out of business and you packing up. Boo hoo, you crying. And so I think that that is an important example. And you and I, we won't name the company, but we know of someone. Like they didn't raise, like me, I raised a couple $1,000s. This person, this business had raised millions.
Mhm.
I will name the business, but they had raised millions of dollars. And they raised millions, and to this day, like, do you know what the business model was?
No, I know that it stole my design.
Oh, Gino, babes, you you just have to throw it out there. He's like, yikes. I mean, you could, they use your designs,
Yeah.
but they use your designs without compensation. But there was no business model.
No business
No,
model.
there was no business model. And I remember by this time, I've already learned, I've already made my mistake. By this time, we're bootstrapping our business and we're seeing success in that. And we're selling, and every dollar we make when we sell, we're reinvesting. And that's how we've built to where we are today. But I remember like looking at you and being like, wait, 2.5 million? Like, we're happy for anybody that's like raising money and
Right?
making money. Good for you.
But but,
But
but you know
what?
something, sweetheart?
Mhm,
Back in the day, going to church every Saturday,
mhm,
I would say things like, I want to be rich and such and such. And my mom would hear me saying these things, and she'd be like, "What you know about money? Like,
mhm,
you could handle all that money. Like,
mhm.
she would just say little things." And then one day I said it, and I think she pointed out. I can't remember the exact verse, but she pointed out the scripture where, um, essentially, it's saying that you have to be a good steward of money. God
Mhm.
won't entrust you with money unless you know how to manage it and you respect it in some
Yeah.
way. And that's what a lot of people do. They get the money, they get the millions, and because it has not been owned, it's not their money, they're
Mhm.
less discerning with what they do with it. And
Yeah.
so you end up in a situation where you got the money and you're just spending it here, there, and sometimes you don't even have a plan, right?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you with that particular business, I am to date, well, they're out of business now, but I am to date unclear
Yep, me too.
on what the business model was. And that was a lesson for me because I mean, once I understood how venture capital works and all the
Mhm,
different percentages, they're not trying to get every single uh
product to hit.
product to hit.
Mhm,
When they have a fund, they just need, a few to hit. If everyone hits, wonderful, but they don't need everyone to hit. They just need one hit to cover the
mhm,
rest of the fund. Once I understood that, I was like, okay, all right, I get how they were able to get that. Once you're
mhm,
connected, you have the relationships, and kudos to them for building those relationships because it's not easy raising money.
mhm,
But you hear, like, when we watch Shark Tank,
mhm,
you look at Mark Cuban every single time someone goes on there and they say, they have 5 7 investors, whatever. Cuban's like, hey, yeah, I'm out. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and when someone says they bootstrapped it, he does this. He's nodding his head because he understands, as very successful people understand, like, you can get that investment. Like, he's there to invest in businesses, but you
mhm,
need to bootstrap your concept. Like, taking a and this is what you should know. So this is the takeaway.
mhm,
When we go through these decisions that may destroy your business, we'll give
mhm,
you the context, we'll share an example, we'll share what you should know and what you should do. So
right,
what you have to know is that taking money without having a proven concept, it creates an artificial safety net. And
mhm,
that artificial safety net does not give you an incentive, does not create the incentive that's necessary for you to go out and sell.
right,
And developing the ability to sell yourself and your business is foundational to all business success.
right,
And so with that safety net, like, you don't need to sell. You kick back, you spend the venture money until it runs out, and you feel that level of comfort, that level of security, as opposed to, if the only way I keep the lights on is if I pick up this phone and I call. The only way I pay my team is if I am thoughtful enough to think up a business model and create a brand, create a product that creates value for people. Because only when I'm creating value for people will people pay me. You know what I'm saying?
right,
And so, that's the first thing, is that money without a proven concept creates an artificial safety net, and it does not put you in a position where you have to sell. And so eventually you will go out of business when the money runs out, because you have not conditioned yourself to earn your keep.
correct,
Hmm. Yeah. The second one, though, is that's kind of like what you were speaking about not being a good steward of money.
right, right. So I was saying that, and to what you said, like,
Hmm.
because you haven't earned your keep and
Hmm.
you haven't developed that grit and the discipline to actually make a dollar,
Hmm.
to get someone to pay you for your services,
Hmm.
then you don't respect it. You don't respect the money that you
Hmm.
earn, right? It is given to you. You did not have to work for it.
Hmm.
And again, like what I said, people, you're less discerning about what you do with the money because you haven't earned it. And so then you got it. Like, we've seen the stories. People
Hmm.
get the money and they go out and buy jewelry and cars and stuff
With
unrelated.
venture money, Jesus.
Yeah,
That
it
well,
happens.
well, well. Here's the thing. I would
And
say that money given is always spent differently to money earned. I would say, and
yep,
this isn't even
yep,
just in business. The money that my parents gave me when I was younger, or my brothers, like, when they were helping me out, like, the way they poured it, the money they gave me to do whatever it is I had to do as a child, like, I treat that money different to my money today.
that is true.
I
That is
spent
true.
that money different to my money today.
Yep,
I
yep.
use that money a whole lot different because I know the money today, I gotta work for that.
Play money. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I am
Yeah.
grinding for that. So
And
people, money given is spent differently than money earned. Yeah.
right. And so that's point two, guys, right? Money given is always different to the money that's earned. And the reason why, and a pitfall, you got to look out for this. There are people in organizations that prey on, the money that you get, the funding that you get, because for them it's just, it's a quick get, right? They don't really care about what you got going on, but it's a
Mhm.
quick buck. So that's something to look
and
out for.
and and they know, because this is what's important to stage, they know that the money you got just handed to you is very different than the money you earned. The
Right.
money you just get in a loan, the money you get in excuse me, in funding or investment or whatever, they know that you're going to treat that money a lot different to the money that you have earned. And as a result of that, they know that, hey, you'll be quicker to say yes to whatever schemes they have running than you would if you had actually had to work for this money. You know what
Correct.
I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
important. What's the third point? What you should know. The Go ahead.
If you haven't proven yourself,
Mhm,
as if with nothing, with $0 and
mhm,
0 cents, if you can make $1, I
mhm,
strongly believe that no one should entrust you with money,
mhm.
the management of money,
Yeah,
especially in business.
yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to that point about people taking advantage, because the reason why they take advantage is because you have not proven yourself. You cannot be trusted with money. You didn't earn it. You don't know what it means to earn it. And in your business, and guys, this isn't like an attack. This is just real talk. This is
Yeah,
something, these are conversations I have had to have with myself, right? And because when you haven't earned your way, when you haven't bootstrapped or haven't taken the time to prove in your idea, go out there, sell your idea, all of that, um, you are actually depriving yourself of the skill sets that are
right. Exactly.
necessary when it's time to take your business to the next level, because you've skipped the process.
Correct.
You've skipped that process. You just got the quick cash and now you're just floating on that. And so when times get hard, which they always do, business is the most competitive sport, it's always going to get hard. And when times get hard, because you have not been conditioned to push through, to sell your idea, to sell your product, to sell yourself, because you have not had that training, when times get hard, like, you're going to fold because you
Correct.
just don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. And it's like a cheat code. If you guys played GTA back in the day, PS2, up, triangle, or square, I can't remember it, but that's a money
Mhm.
code. Whatever. Max ammo. It's a cheat code. You
R1,
get
R2, L1, L2, left
missions.
and right, up, left, down, down, left.
Game freak. So you get through it. But I mean, no, I see, Terry, you've always brought this up. Like, why did you have to use cheats? Like there's something in going through the missions and
Yeah,
failing a million times and getting it that one time. It's and winning it, passing it, it's so satisfying.
yeah.
And in business, you sometimes, like, when you rush the process and you skip over everything,
Mhm,
like Taylor said, you miss out on the opportunity to grow and develop that grit. And what happens is, later down the line, where you encounter something that money cannot solve,
mhm.
then you're in a pickle.
Yeah. Yeah, you're in a pickle. And so what to do, guys, in terms of just actions you can take. The first, test the viability of your business straight up. Like, don't
Mhm.
just go and try to run up credit card, go get a loan and what's not. Test your idea in a small way. Get out there, start selling, start connecting. Just figure out, will people be willing to pay me for what it is I'm trying to do? It's a lot more complex in a product based business, but there are ways you can do it. If it is you're trying to start a restaurant, which, I wouldn't all the way recommend, but if that's the direction you're going, then before you go and invest in a whole lease and a whole space, like, do a pop-up. like have a pop-up event. When you're selling a service business, it's a lot easier to bootstrap. If you have a product business, get some samples. If you're selling merch online, like you don't have to go and buy all the merch. Like have a pre-order and see, like, are people willing to actually pay for this before I go out there and put myself in all this expense, before I go out there and I make all of these commitments. Is my idea viable? Get the feedback, make the adjustments you need to make, and bootstrap your idea from the ground up until it is viable, until it's running. And then you can start to put that money in it, whether it's from investment, whether you get a loan, whatever you're doing, as accelerant. Hopefully, your cash flow is so good that you don't even need to do that. You can
Correct.
just keep reinvesting. But there comes a point where you will have to take outside money depending on how big you want to get.
Correct. And
Yeah.
like, just to level off, why not restaurants? Low profit margins. Tahir will tell you that she did a deep dive on all of the different business, the different niches when she was picking the business to start, and
Oh yeah.
restaurants were the lowest.
Yeah,
That's one.
yeah.
Um, two. Two is, oh my god, I forgot what I was about to
You
say.
forgot your point. No, well, just
Oh, right, right. I
mm,
remember. Right. So we've been saying, the money, like what not to do, like,
mm,
taking money. That's a decision to make. On the
mm,
flip side, though, it can be a good decision
mm.
if you have the structure in place already,
Of course.
and then the money is just like gas on a fire, right? You just
It's an
draw,
accelerant.
right?
Then you just
Have
move
the
and like
scale,
there
correct?
comes a point in time where you need that cash flow. So if your business is one where it's not, you don't have a lot of cash flow,
Yeah.
and maybe the cycles in terms of how you get paid, they're longer, then having that outside capital is very useful. But starting with that without having a proven idea is a recipe for disaster. And I have seen and heard of too many people who go
Yep.
out, they get these loans, and some of these banks and these financial institutions are so predatory. Like they they prey on people with dreams. They prey on your dreams to get you hooked into a loan, to get you hooked into credit card debt and all this. And so you have to be really discerning
Yep.
before making that type of
and
decision.
and you want a very easy and simple way to get started, you guys. It's a book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Mom Test.
Mhm,
Everybody love their mother,
mhm,
and our mothers, they love us,
mhm,
right? Well, at least I would hope so.
mhm,
The easiest way to find out if something is viable, an idea is viable, is to ask your mom. Do the mom test. And I'm not saying don't ask questions you want the answer to. Like, don't ask stupid questions like,
mommy, my
"Hey,
idea
mom."
good.
Right, right, right. Of course she's gonna say yes. Like, of course I
Mhm.
do that. That's what she's expected to say.
I believe in
Right?
you.
The whole point of the mom test is to not ask direct questions, because it's a parent, it's your mom. She's gonna tell you exactly what it is you want to hear.
Mhm,
You want to ask questions. Don't You can lead her to where you want her to go.
mhm,
But don't be too obvious, because what you really want to get out of her is you want her to arrive on it on her own. And if she says that doesn't make sense, yeah, that's something, then go bet, shoot for it.
mhm.
But run it by your mom first.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So the second point, the first decision that if you make it, it can destroy your business and you have to be wary of, is taking money from the wrong places. The second decision is ego driven decision making,
Mhm.
choosing to make decisions with your ego as opposed to what's logical, as opposed to what's sensible for the business. Gino, you have a story, short, quick. Tell us about the Blackberry movie. We watched it last year. And let me just put a disclaimer. I am among the persons when that BlackBerry Z10 came out, I was like, this is the iPhone killer. I will never get an iPhone.
Right, exactly.
Everything is going to be, let me tell you, what a disgrace. I so
Lame.
shame
Yep. So that's it right there. She just said it, guys. So what I got from it is that, the ego filled his head. It
the
was a great
movie.
movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, but he had already seen so many successes. They were the first to do everything. Nobody else was doing it. And so I guess they got comfortable. Well, in my opinion, they got really comfortable.
Mhm.
And whereas some members of the team were saying, "Hey, this is what's happening,"
Mhm.
the CEO, the leader, he was just like, "No, this is it. We've got the best product. This is
Mhm.
it. They're not doing what we're doing. Um, they can't reach us. We're on that level."
Yeah.
And so it basically ended up like they ended up
Well, we
with
know how the
what was
story
it,
ends.
millions of products that could not be sold because there was a glitch in the screen or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
crazy.
we the closing scene of the movie, spoiler alert, the closing scene of the movie is well even before the closing scene, the most telling scene to me
Hmm.
wasn't all the other drama that was going on. It was when they saw the announcement from Apple
Apple, yeah.
and he made that offhand cavalier remark as if like, you know, they
All
basically
right, right,
they
right.
could never compete with us.
Yeah, yeah.
It was something along that lines, but that was completely ego and just refusing to do what he needed to do
That
to
was
make.
keyboard on a screen, guys. That was a
Yep.
keyboard on a screen because, as you know,
Yeah.
BlackBerry, it's buttons.
His buttons. Yeah.
They
And
were like,
he
who would want to
who would ever want to do that?
type?
And he just dismissed it. And
Yeah,
he dismissed what his competition was doing. He was just focused on what his ego was saying.
yeah.
And as a result of that, the closing scene is him literally going through all the different boxes of Blackberries, fixing this glitch
Opening up
because
each one
each one
and
and seeing
clicking the
that all of them
screen.
had this glitch that
Yeah,
they were supposed to fix, but they didn't fix.
yep.
That was tough. That was tough to. I'm not gonna lie, that was tough to see. I saw that movie,
Great movie.
and I was like, "Bet you say less. You
Yeah.
ain't you don't have to tell me a thing again." Like
Humble
I'm not.
yourself.
Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
I that movie was really instructive. And let's say this: ego without success or a track record of success is delusion. Like that's just what it is. If you have a big ego, you're not successful in your business, you've never been successful in your business or any business for that matter, you're
Mhm.
delusional, right? But in the same way, because he was not delusional, BlackBerry
Mhm.
was, they were up there. They had like, they were dominant, they were killing the game. But
Yeah, they
just
were the
because
first
you're killing
movers.
the
Yeah.
game, what'd you say?
They were the first movers.
Yeah, they were the first movers. But just because you are crushing it, it does not entitle you to be guided by your ego to just make decisions with, the lower part of your body and not
Right.
your brain. Because ego driven decision making is what we are calling ego driven decision making is anytime you find yourself acting based on your ego, your pride, your self-interest, your self-aggrandizement, basically protecting your self-esteem, your ego, your whether you're a
Uh-huh.
woman or a man,
Uh,
that is ego driven decision making as opposed to logical decision making. So what should the people know, Gino?
Well, just want to say something before we move on to those points.
Hmm.
What I really got from that movie and
Hmm.
what I believe in, and it's not anything against
Hmm.
Apple, but just because you move first, it doesn't mean that you can't create a better product. Like
Hmm.
when we were in LA, not LA, Vegas for the that show,
Yeah.
NF show, we had the idea for the product,
Yeah.
and one of our teammates said, "Well, it, just because they did it doesn't mean that you can't do it, right? Just take
Right.
something, tweak it, and make it better."
Yep.
And that's something that Apple does really well.
They do it well.
They wait for you to iron out all of the kinks and do whatever, and they're gonna come in and put their own spin on it, and it's gonna be remarkable.
They let you do the market research. They let you test the
Everything,
viability of the idea,
everything.
and then they make it better and market the shit out of it.
Yep,
Tell
yep,
a great story. As you can
yeah,
see, we're huge fans of Apple in this household, but
yeah.
we'll leave it there. But there are two
Don't
types of
don't don't
people.
mind the Samsung TV. For TVs we do Samsungs.
Yeah, Samsung
They,
is really important
yeah,
for TVs. Until
yeah.
Apple brings out a TV, then I'll jump to that.
Not even that. That's you're gonna have to sell your heart for that, but that's another story.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
but
I heard they canceled
yeah,
the TV, so that's fine.
yeah, they did, and a car. But guys, what you should do as it relates to
Well, you should know.
ego, what you
Mhm,
should do, right? What you
mhm,
should know about ego-driven decision making is one, what you need to look out for. There are two types of ego driven decision making. One, the God complex, savior of the universe, which Tahir will tell you more about in
Okay.
just a few seconds. And then two, the asshole who is never wrong,
Yeah.
Tahira.
So yeah, there's I was very startled by this because I've got a bit of both, or I had a bit of both. I've got a bit of both that I'm always working through.
Had.
Okay. But, a few years back, someone really close to me,
Mhm.
uh, they told me that I had a God complex.
Woo.
And I mean, I don't think he'd mind. It was my brother. We were in the middle of a heated debate discussion, and he said that. And let me tell you, that had me in rags. Let me tell you,
Rags,
I
man.
was
Jeez.
I was upset about it. I was really upset because I felt attacked.
Mhm.
But it is really, it to me, it's not that it's worse,
Mhm.
but it's it's a dangerous kind of ego driven decision making, because speaking from my own experience, the God complex is this idea that it is your responsibility and
Mhm.
you have the ability to
Mhm.
save everybody.
Mhm.
You have the ability to do everything to save everybody because you are that powerful, you are that great, you just have this responsibility as this supreme being. And, like, on one hand, it can be perceived as positive because you want to take personal responsibility and personal accountability for everything. On the other hand, you kind of end up putting yourself or making decisions that are not really reflective of what is in the best interest of the organization, but now you're making decisions in terms of what is in the best interest of you preserving your perspective of yourself as being responsible for everything and being responsible for saving everybody, when it is not your responsibility to do any of that. and
Right.
and or well, not, let me not say any of that, but where you have to be very discerning in that, like, is making this decision going to put the organization back, or is it going to put the organization forward as a whole? And so I really had an issue with that. And the asshole is self-explanatory. That's someone who's never
Yeah.
wrong, who can never admit to being wrong. I think
Mhm.
that was more me earlier up in my career, but
Mhm.
today, that's just not, that's not something that
More
fits
likes
my
to
experience.
feel like they're wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
no one likes to feel that they're wrong, but the first one is the one that I have struggled with most in the past, the God complex, feeling like it's my responsibility to save everything and making decisions based on that. And the reality is that the outcome of both of those types of ego driven leadership is failure. When you're making decisions, whether as an asshole or somebody that feels like you are the supreme being that is responsible for everything, you're going to fail either way, right?
Right.
And it doesn't work out long term. So I think that that is something for people to look out for, because that lack of personal accountability means that there isn't really room for growth or improvement.
Right.
Especially in the latter one, the person who's never wrong. If you're never wrong, then you can't grow, you can't improve, you can't reflect. You know.
And then that later leads to, a damaged reputation. And then until you eventually crash and burn.
Yeah, yeah, that's just how it goes. Like, nobody wants to work with people in business who cannot acknowledge they're wrong. And so I do give myself some props for that, because anybody who's ever worked in our business will tell you I'm the first to just throw myself on the sword. That's a
Right.
bit of the God complex there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I also feel you're the
Oh,
CEO.
I
Stop.
think it's accountability. Like the buck
Yeah,
stops with you, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
the buck stops. Yeah, but it's knowing, okay, every buck can't stop with you. Some things
Right.
are not within your
Right.
purview.
If it's outside of your control, it doesn't stop
Yeah,
with you. But
yeah.
yeah, and I on the employee or teammates, and
Hmm.
I do respect people who kind of challenge the status quo.
Hmm.
So, for example, you're there to learn, I guess, because the person has more experience than you.
Hmm.
But don't think that it's not okay to challenge them, right?
Hmm.
Because if it's a growth environment, um, and I know we're talking along the lines of an ego-driven leader. That may not be the case. You may not want to speak up
Mhm.
because you're fearful of what might happen to you.
Repercussions,
But
yeah.
you should always do it. You should always do it because trust me when I tell you, they hear it in the moment and they're gonna think back on that.
Yeah.
And you may not get, they may not tell you, you may not get anything out of it. They may not tell you thanks or whatever, but you should always do it because there is a possibility that they may change their mind.
Yeah, and you make it better for the next person that comes. Like
Exactly.
I remember I had a teammate once um
The
just
man
make a
problem.
comment to me. What'd you say?
The man problem. Sorry.
No. What are you saying? No. I had a teammate once just make a comment to me and say, I asked, what could I do different? Like, how can I be better as a leader? And the teammate in particular said, you can maybe like ask some more about, how I'm doing like on a personal level, etc. And this is new, this is recent, but that was because I had done that so much in the past that in recent
Right.
times I've just been like, yo, I'm not interested in knowing anybody on a personal level. I'm keeping it 100% business. Like,
Do
don't
your
tell me
work.
what'd you say?
Do your work.
Just do
Essentially.
your work.
Do your work.
But 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 you can't be like that.
Right.
And I just thought that I was doing what I needed to do, but when the teammate said it, even though I'm sure it took a lot of courage to say that, because when you're the boss, you're not seeing yourself
No.
as the boss, but from an employer employee dynamic, they're sometimes very fearful of sharing things. And I do personally wish that, I in the past had created, I think, even better dynamics to do what it is you said. Create an environment where people do feel comfortable stating what it is they want to state, etc. So when that teammate shared that with me, I was like, okay, I listened, and I made it a point to fix that. Most bosses, most leaders will do that. They will try. Like, the goal is not to be an asshole. The goal is to build a company and to do that with people that you enjoy working with. And so,
Right.
like, you ask make your comment respectfully, and share your perspectives, and you'll be respected for it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And in terms of what to do, guys,
Yeah.
um, and along the context of being an ego-driven decision maker,
Hmm.
um, to be honest with you, I personally feel that ego-driven decision making stems from a place of insecurity and lacking in understanding yourself is one of the best things that you could ever do. You need to figure out, and when we had this discussion, it was like, okay, how does someone with a big ego
Hmm.
know that they're missing something or they're
Hmm.
lacking or that they're insecure,
Yeah.
right? And one, I think you either have to get to a place where you can't really come back from. So that's like when you
Rock bottom.
crash and burn, or um, and at this point you literally have two options,
Hmm.
and you either write and poor,
Hmm.
or no, yeah, that you have to be right and poor, or you're wrong and rich, you're thriving. And Tahira, I know that you're not an ego driven decision making at
Well,
all, but I know
I'm
that
working on it.
you did a lot as it relates. So like you just obsessed about being a really great leader, and therapy was a great help to you. So I
Yeah.
want you
And
to just tell the folks like what therapy really helps you with as it relates to being such an awesome leader.
well, I would say, I'm a work in progress. So I appreciate you trying to extol my value, but I'm a work in progress, and there's still a lot of ways that I have and continue to fail as a leader. But I think that recognizing that you're imperfect
Hmm.
is a really important uh disposition to have, just as a baseline, knowing that you're not perfect, you won't always be perfect, but that you are striving to always be better. And when it comes to, you made a good point earlier that like when we were having the discussion about just around this topic and putting together our points, you were sharing that, well, how does someone who has a big ego, we know people with huge ego, just complete assholes, like how does that person, who tells that person, who tells that person, look, you got to fix this, right? Like you got to do that. For me, I've had I've been the youngest in most situations, and so I've had mentors and I've had, siblings and parents who are very hard on me and very direct about my own shortcomings. But I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest transformation for me was going to therapy. I started therapy in 2018, and I can say, aside from the growth in our own marriage and in our own relationship, therapy for me was transformative for, in terms of the way I ran our business, as a
Mm.
CEO, the decisions I make. And, one aspect of leadership is dealing with employees, but you have to deal with customers. You have to sell, you have to know when to push and know when to pull and know how to read situations. And a lot of that involves kind of removing yourself from it and being willing to humble and understand other people's position and give room to flex and all of this. And so I think that therapy is a very useful resource for anybody who wants to improve as a leader, because I tell it to you all the time, like you stated earlier, you get to a place where you have, like, it's two options. Like, you're either going to um, be right and be poor, or you're going
You're
to be
right all the time. Yeah.
right all the time and poor, or you're going to get to a place where you're comfortable being wrong sometimes,
Hmm.
and you are prepared to be humble,
Hmm.
and you're prepared to consistently work on yourself and eventually be rich, be wealthy, and be
And,
able to.
and and do you feel that you, because my whole thing was like, how does someone who is so ego driven um know what to do to fix themselves? Like,
Mhm.
does it
I
really,
I mean,
like,
that's
do
a
they
good.
really have to get to this point
Yeah,
where
like,
they
I
crash
think you
and burn
do.
to figure it
I
out?
You do. For a lot of people, you do, because that ego is baked in, and for some people, unfortunately, they never learn. Like,
Mm.
they never learn. But that's chalk it up to
Yeah,
the game.
that's
You
up
don't
to
want to
the game.
learn, then you lose. That's what it is. But you do have to get to a place where you hit your proverbial rock bottom, and then you decide, like, do I want to stay here, do I want to get back here, am I going to look around and look at everything else and blame everything else, or am I going to acknowledge that I've made some shit decisions, and it's because I was being guided by my ego, and so now I got to fix that, and I got to
Yeah,
stop allowing my insecurities to rule me.
correct. And guys, hands down, there has never been a situation where I have had to overcome by, with just ego. Like, my ego has always been that obstacle in the way. And it's only when, you get rid of it is when you can deal with the challenge head on.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like, I'd say 10 out of 10 times, it has never done anything for me or benefited me in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, it creates more problems than
Right.
it does value, to be honest. So that
Yeah.
was point two, ego driven decision making. Point three, guys, the third decision that you make this one, let me tell y'all, this one, eh,
Woo.
accepting performance below your standard of excellence. If you are in business and you want to destroy you want to just set it on fire, you want to watch it burn and enter the halls of poverty and failure, accept performance below your standard of excellence. Consistently do that. Do you
All
know
right.
you were looking at something online?
Yeah. So we follow Cody Sanchez.
Yeah.
We love her content. And something that you recently said that is quite relevant to this topic is
Mhm.
that when you're hiring people, you want to look for people who are obsessed and not just interested in
Mhm.
what you're doing
Mhm.
and what the company is doing, right?
Mhm.
they have to be able to spend hours, be able to work on something without being paid for it. Like, when was the last time they spent the entire night working on something, working
Mhm.
on their dream without being paid for it, right?
Right. And not necessarily for
And
your company, but just
no, no,
working
right,
on your
exactly.
dream.
Not for your company, just for themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
They obsess over something, and obviously, we're not talking about obsessing over anything that's bad, but it has something that's good. And the reason why that's interesting is because you want people that are going to stick around when things get tough,
Mhm.
and not just bail, right? You kind of
Mhm.
want that level of loyalty. And in in our experience, I find that, once it's cool, it's cool to work with this really successful agency,
Mhm.
to be doing things, to be in the know, to feel important.
Yeah.
And then, like, once you get what you got out of it, you
You got
just,
that little high.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's so, let me tell you. You hear this kind of, just the first part kind of goes back to the ego driven decision making, eh? Because when you are running a company, when you are building a company, it's so easy to believe that, look, this whole thing can move forward, it can succeed, it can thrive on my shoulders, on my back.
Yeah.
I can make all of this work, even if everybody is dragging. Look at LeBron. The Lakers, we didn't even make it out the first round because we can't, you can't, you can't pull
Yes,
that
why you
away
bring the Lakers into this?
because I'm hurt. I sound like I want to
Biz,
cry. I'm not
you're
crying.
gonna stay hurt until they do something about that team. Just
Hey, but my thing is, look, and we've had this experience, eh? Like we've had this experience, accepting performance below the standard. Let me tell y'all a story without naming anybody. We had an experience where we hired someone. We hired someone. And when I tell you, within like 2.5 weeks of hiring this person, I knew I need to fire this person. I need to fire them. This here don't make no sense. This is what I knew in my mind.
Mhm.
But I just kept hoping and believing and expecting that this person's output would improve.
Output.
And eventually, what ended up happening was that the low energy, the lack of productivity,
It's
the
spread.
underperformance is spread like wildfire. And let me
Mhm.
tell you, I'm talking about meeting after meeting coming and just the work not being done. And this was new for us as a business. And I remember
Mhm.
thinking, what the like this can't be how people operate. And
Mhm.
before I knew it, every other member of our team I was starting to see a dip in their performance.
Yeah.
And I was starting to see the dip in their performance because what? I was even starting to see the dip in my own performance because now that was you laughing like you like look, this gonna sound this is real talk. You hang
Yep.
around losers, you become a loser. That's just what
Right.
it is. If
Mhm.
you go and you train in the gym with people who are underperformers, you can't think you're gonna go and play in an NBA with the big boys. No, you're assing around in the gym with underperformers. You gotta play with people in the big leagues. You have to operate at a high level to deliver at a high level. And I think that was, man, that experience was so telling to me. That experience was so telling to me that no, like if I see somebody who is just irreparably terrible, just like an underperformer, gone one time. I'm not even playing that.
Right.
What should I do?
And and what's extremely important to know here, guys, is that there is never, ever, not in the history of mankind, where you should rationale keeping an underperformer.
Yeah. You can't rationalize keeping an
Do not
underperformer.
rationalize keeping an underperformer.
Mhm.
Get just don't do it. Family, we have this rule: family, friends, and associates. No, we don't do that. Why? Because it's an emotional high. You like them. You like your cousin. You think about all the fun times you had. Your brother, your best friend who used to,
Mhm.
chase the girls with. Don't do it. Don't do it
But let me
because
ask you. But
there
what if your family member or associate is a high performer? Can't you hire that person?
that's a different story.
Okay.
No, that's a different case. You can do that.
Mhm.
And what I suggest is that you, if there are enough separation within the organization that you don't have to deal with them directly, you don't have
Yeah.
to manage them. Keep that separate.
It gets sticky
Separate
if you
church and
do.
state. Let someone else manage them.
Yeah, because I mean, this is something you know, Gino. Look, guys, I'm the kind of person I either like you or I don't like you, and if I like you, then you're probably in. Like, if I like you, you can
Run
get pretty
circles.
far. Which is you can get pretty far if I like you, and so like, but for me, I think I've had to learn like you can't hire or retain people just based on liking them. And you should like who you work with, but them being competent has to be it has to be bigger than you just liking them.
Yeah, yes.
And I mean, I have done this on multiple occasions and it never works out. It feels good working with people that you like and you like their energy, but if they're not performing, then you can't hire people just based on who you like. And I'm
Right.
repeating this because I have to always repeat it for myself.
Yes. And guys, the point here is that poor performers, underperformers will always cost you in the long run.
Yeah.
Just always.
Yeah.
Think about the decision, and it's just messy because you're gonna think like if you're in a business, you understand that there's a hiring process. You're gonna have to go through the interviews. You're gonna have to go through so much things, and
Yeah.
then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, you're gonna be like, "Man, I made a decision." So
Then you got to
now,
go through that whole onboarding over again. Yeah, forget about
yeah,
that.
right. No, but you got to get them out.
Yeah.
That's stressful in its
Yeah.
own right. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah,
It's work.
what else should our listeners know to hear?
You should know that underperformers are like a cancer and their poor performance will soon show up in the wider team's performance.
Hmm.
And the example, I know you were saying a red dot and a white shirt, but I can't get over the fact I bought these pants, guys. I
A
liked
red shirt
the
and
pants.
white lingerie. Yeah.
I didn't read the washing instructions on the pants. So I put the pants in in the machine. And let me tell you, they had a little pattern on them. Boy, I tell you. I also put two tops that Gino had in the machine. Generally speaking, two white slash
Queen
off
of
white.
laundry, guys. Queen of laundry.
Okay. And let me tell you, I put these in the machine. And when I went and I opened the machine, I said, I lad, the shirt's tie-dye. The shirts are tie-dye. All everything from the pants had seeped onto them because the pants were not supposed to be washed. It was like it was some kind of special instructions to wash them, and I didn't read the instructions. And I think that's the perfect analogy when it comes to underperformers. You don't do your due diligence, you don't see and know and understand that they can do the job. You put them in the mix with all the rest of your good quality teammates, and what's going to happen? They're going to seep on them and they're going to turn your teammates into tie-dye underperforming messes that you can't wear anymore. You can't use well anymore. And before you know it, they if depending on how strong their influence is and how long you've kept them in your organization, then soon enough they are running the show. I'm
Hmm.
saying? And that's the third point, that in some instances, if you don't get them out, they can cause irreparable damage to your business, right? And that your business may never recover from because their poor performance now creates the new bar, the new standard for your
Right.
business. So,
And
never.
what that does, guys, is that it demoralizes the A team. In
Mhm.
every organization,
Yeah.
there's the A team and there's the B team. And the A team, they respect the culture and the organization so much, they just won't stand for it and they'll just move on. And they'll
Yeah.
and you lose those quality people.
Yeah. You will.
So when
You
you
will.
have the opportunity to, you just need to get them out. And if you can't get them out, what you should be doing is setting some parameters around how they work and still finding the replacement, right? So you want to find ways to improve efficiency and monitor them and then hold them accountable to those standards.
Yeah, excuse me. Absolutely, absolutely. When you have an underperformer, you gotta you gotta crank up the rules, and I mean it becomes a tough place to work, and hopefully they'll underperform their way through the door, or they may rise to the occasion because they just need accept extreme structure. But
Correct.
regardless, if you know it's an underperformer, don't keep them around. Try to figure out how you find their replacement, and you tactfully and respectfully replace them. Muy importante.
I
So
love it.
yeah, the fourth poor decision that person sometimes make, or that can destroy your business.
Is never saying no.
Yeah.
Why is this important? All right. So every business, every leader knows that there are only so much decisions that they can make in a day, and so many yeses that they can, or so many things that they can, um, so many things that they can say yes to, right?
Hmm.
And there are a limited amount of quality decisions that you can make.
Yeah.
Something that your brother told us, and it
Hmm.
was just so profound. He's so brilliant. He's
Hmm.
brilliant, by the way, guys. Lloyd Banks, look him up. He's also an artist.
Yeah,
That's
man.
Lloyd Bishop.
Hopefully he listening. You listening?
Yeah.
He listens to the podcast. What's up, bro?
What he said was that,
This the one that always hard on me, guys. But I'm a better woman because of it.
Amen, Amen. He said that being successful in business is just a bunch of really good decisions that you make over time that just compound on each other, like compound
Yeah.
on top of each other. And I was like, awesome, great, let's go for it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm sorry, Tara. Yeah, I just got something in my eye.
Okay. Yeah. I saw you kind of
My
bugging.
eyelashes, you know how it
Yeah,
is.
Gino has long, beautiful eyelashes, but
Yeah,
they
yeah. It's
sometimes
a curse. It's a blessing and
they,
a curse.
they sometimes get in the way. Look at him playing with the lashes.
Yeah. Whew.
But no, like you said, there are a limited amount of quality decisions you can make. And I mean, our lives, we live this. The more successful you get, a byproduct of success, of seeing success, is that more and more people are going to be coming to you with ideas and opportunities. Let me tell you, good ideas pop up for us just on a regular basis
And they
now,
sound
right?
good in a moment. Yeah.
And they sound amazing in a moment. Let me tell you, when you on that Zoom call, you like, hey, I could see you see the millions just rising above you. And you're like, this is exactly the direction I need to go in. I can see how I can just see the return. The opportunities are plentiful, especially
Yeah.
when you start to
Yep.
see
Yep.
success. But the reality is that what you have to know, and what I had to learn because I've never been good at this, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. And importantly, never feel obligated to make a final decision in a given moment. This is a hack. This is a hack. So we're given the solution as a part
Hold
of
on, hold on. And that's just not in business, guys. That's in your personal life as
that's
well.
your personal life as well. Never feel,
Take
oh, you're
five.
giving a guy's game now.
Yeah, take five in anything. Somebody asks you
My boy
something,
said take five.
take five. And if it's in a WhatsApp message, don't respond to it immediately. Take five, think about it,
So leave her
come
on
back.
red.
I didn't say that. I said gather your thoughts and come back and answer. And don't feel obligated to say yes to anything.
Yeah,
Be real, be straight up. I mean,
I
you
think
know
that's
that.
really important in business, and I never felt that way before. I was the yes gal, like yes, let's do it. Let me tell you, I would just say yes to everything. But the reality is that there are an infinite there are a finite amount of yeses, right?
Correct.
And quality yeses. And
Quality,
so
yes.
while you may feel this excitement or this pressure in the moment, sometimes you just got to step back, say, hey, this sounds like a great idea. Let me think about this. Let me think about this for a week or two, and just let it rummage around in the old noggin, and then come back and let me see where I'm at. And that alone will give you just a level of peace to be able to step back and be like, okay, okay. And then what you may have felt was great in that moment, you sit, you think on it, and then you're like, this is a stupid idea. You're like, this don't make no
But
damn
but but
sense.
but but not even that. Like, there was a situation where someone asked me to do something.
Mm,
Um, they wanted me to present to like a class or something. It was like a tech, a cybersecurity thing.
mm,
And in a moment, I was like, "Great, down my alley. I can do this. I will do this."
mhm,
Ooh, but when the time came, I regretted saying just like yes right in the moment,
mm,
instead of just going and saying, "Okay, let me just look at my calendar." And life is so unpredictable, guys.
mhm,
Like, I could never imagine the amount of work that I would have had to do at that time.
mhm.
It was just it was just a lot, and I felt bad in the moment that I was not able to honor that agreement.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
so
I mean, you know, Gino, you know, I am the queen of yes, yes, yes. Well, of course, why not?
yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
know,
just
we
let me
know.
know.
I
Yeah,
know.
man, send me a message. Let's do. Okay, great. But what I've realized is that long term, the cost of your yeses increase. So it
Correct.
looks cheap in the short term, but it becomes very expensive over time. They like those yeses become heavy, and before you know it, like, you've said yes to so much, you don't have the space, you
Yeah,
don't have the wiggle room, you don't have the bandwidth to say yes to the most important things, because you've said
yeah.
yes to so many low quality decisions, or you've made so many.
Right.
Mhm,
And what that does is you genuinely want to do it,
mhm.
and
Oh, of course.
people don't care that, they just care that you're not able to hold up your end of the bargain.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that, okay, you're not a person of your
Of
word,
your word,
and
yeah.
that becomes a problem in
That's a
business.
big
In
problem.
business, that's how you have what you have.
Mhm.
The key thing, the most important thing, well, to me at least, is my word.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's really important out the gate to not be compelled to just say yes to everything.
Right,
Don't
right.
be a clown that's just like not giving and saying no to everybody, but
Yeah,
choose your yeses wisely. And I think people will respect you as a result of that. And so now what we do, especially when you're younger, when you're just getting started, then you got to
yeah,
say a lot of yeses. That's the
yeah,
reality, because you're
yeah.
trying to get your foot in the door.
Right.
But the more success you get, you need to slow down with the yeses, and you need to adjust your default to no. And this is the opposite, of advice that we would have given 5 years ago, right? But I think that as you grow and as you start to see some success, you're
Mhm.
gonna have to tweak that equation, and you're gonna have to start saying no a lot more, and focusing on giving those high quality yeses, on making high quality decisions, because eventually, if you give away all of your yeses, you'll be overcommitted, and you won't have a yes for the most important opportunities.
Correct. And in business, your most important resource is your time.
Your time in life, your most important, like, you can't get that back. You
Yeah.
can't get that back. All right. So the last point, Gino, the last point, we're preparing to wrap up now, guys. The last point, the last decision, that if you make this, it will mean extinction. I'm prepared to say that.
Like the dinosaurs.
Extinct, like the dinosaurs, gone. If you make this decision,
Tell us already. What's the decision?
is staying a small fish in the pond.
All
Stay,
right.
staying a small fish in the pond. And let me explain this.
Mm-hmm.
There are some businesses, and you hear people. First of all, anyway, I'll get to that. There's some businesses who say, look, I just doing what's necessary to get by, make a little profit. I ain't trying to be no big fish. I ain't trying to be so yada yada yada. And the problem in that is that when you do this, you're essentially just waiting to be swallowed up by a big fish or be run out of business.
But and not just that. Sorry to cut you off, but again, Lida said something important. He
Mhm.
said, "What is the point of being in business?"
Right.
Like why? And when he asked that question, I was like, okay, do the math in your head. What's this? Probably something complicated. So you just there going around the circle. It's to make money. It's to
Point
make
blank is
money. So
make money. Wow.
when I hear people say, they don't want to get too big. They just want to try a little thing. First of all, I'm not even trying to entertain that conversation
Yeah.
because I'm not trying to unravel whatever your mindset is. All right, you just keep it moving. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Business is the most competitive sport. I forgot who I heard say that. One of these online speakers. Business is the most competitive sport. That's it. Point blank, period.
Andy, it was Andy.
Andy Frisella. Shout
Yeah.
out to Andy.
Mhm.
Business is the most competitive sport you could ever participate in.
Mhm.
So when you go into business saying, I'm just trying to be a small fish in a pond, I'm just trying to do what's not just to get by. I'm just trying to make a little bit of profit, not be too big. What eventually is going to happen, what eventually happens is that if you are not prepared to compete, if you are not trying to be number one, what happens when you in a sport? You get kicked out of the game,
Right, you get benched, traded,
benched,
everything.
traded, retired,
Retired.
forcibly retired.
There you
You're no
go.
longer in the game. You no longer get a check. Go do something else. And so I think a good example, Gino, is when we started Thoughtful. Like we
Mhm.
didn't just say, oh, like if we had said we just want to run a little marketing agency in Anguilla, I
Mhm.
think we'd be out of business. We sure as shit wouldn't be where we are today, and
Yeah.
we'd be out of business because there's always going to be someone new that's offering something fresh.
Something new, like AI, the invention, or well, the advancement in AI, which
Mhm.
has replaced or will replace millions of jobs, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah, it's already replacing the jobs.
Right.
You know, like and the more technology that's built on AI, the more the more replacements are going to take place. So if you're just running a business and you're saying I'm just trying to be a small fish, inherent in that statement is that you're not trying to evolve
Right.
and you're just trying to just do the bare minimum. And the point that we're making here is that the decision to do the bare minimum in business will be the death of your business. Like you
Right.
cannot take the approach that you're going to do the bare minimum. You have to be the person that's just like, hey, how do I turn this up? How do I just how do I continue to evolve this? And that does not mean that you have to go in and take on 100, 200 clients if you like depending on your it doesn't mean like taking on a whole bunch of clients cuz do you know our agency like that's not our model. Our model is
Mhm.
we're a boutique agency, we're a small agency and we
Mhm.
take on high quality clients that pay a premium, right, for our
Right.
service.
Correct.
So you don't being being competitive doesn't mean that you have to go out there and be running down all kinds of clients. It's just saying create a model that puts you in a position to win and that
Right.
makes you people's first choice. That makes you an attractive offer. You're not just the business that when you look online, you look at it and you just keep scrolling. Make people pause.
Correct. And on a topic of being a small fish in a small pond,
Mhm,
I think it comes down to what it is you really want out of life and for your business.
mhm,
We're thoughtful. We wanted to be the number one agency in the region.
mhm.
I mean, like my whole thing was changing all the passwords to that as well. It's no longer the passwords, guys, but
Yeah.
like we were obsessed with that. And in some regards, like I feel like, well, I know that we're already there. And like with women, guys, it's like, what's next?
Mm.
Okay, we're here. So what's next? All right.
Yeah.
And in terms of what to do, Tahira made her like she touched base on some of the points.
Mm,
And you want to be the first option when people
mm.
think about a service or a product,
Yeah.
they need to think about you.
For you.
So you want to be the first choice, and and you want to aim to be that preferred option. What else should we do, sweetheart?
I think it comes down to, I mean, the values we use, the values that guide our work and our business and everything that we create. It's leading with love. It's taking no shortcuts. It's treating people how you want to be treated, and it's
Ooh.
the promise of our company. It's delivering wow, like going above and beyond for your customers. And I think that when you do that, when you show up, I was on a call, a conference. I was giving a presentation as a part of a
Mhm.
conference last Friday. This time last week. Well, last week, yeah. And the theme of my section was around like how AI is going to transform the world,
Mhm.
and what advice would I give to young businesses and young people who are seeking jobs
Mhm.
in what is going to be a completely different job market
Right.
than anyone has ever seen, anything anyone has ever seen before. And I said, my advice would be the same advice that I give my nieces, the same advice that we give each other. And it's you have to be a human, you
Mhm.
have to treat people well. You have to deliver crazy value. You can't show up as a robot. You can't do the bare minimum and think that you're going to win in this next dispensation of whatever the world looks like. Like that's not going to work because Chat GPT already got like the robot stuff covered. Like the AI has the robotic responses, that's covered. So if you're just doing like the baseline, then is like hire you or pay for a subscription. Like I'll just pay for the subscription, Is like work with your business or just get that work with a person in your business who's going to be acting and performing like a robot, or just pay for a subscription. I'll pay for the subscription. If you want to really stand out, if it is that you want to win long term in business, you don't have to go out there and get a 10,000 clients, but you have to be a human, and you have to show up, and you have to lead with love, and you have to deliver value, and you can't just be comfortable saying I'm just going to be a small fish in a pond. The AI is because there's a bunch of like AI platforms that are in the pond now. So
Thousands every
you're
day.
out there,
Bots
and they
created
don't make mistakes. Like
just to
they don't make many
optimize
mistakes.
processes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And sweetheart, we get it's absurd to think that, oh, they like leading with love. What does that even mean?
Hmm.
And I remember the first time you mentioned that, um, people were taken back, like,
Hmm.
lead with love. Like, business is competitive. We're not saying that it doesn't have to be. It's very sharky out here in these waters,
Yeah.
but our advantage, and try it out. If you don't like it, then try something else. Two things: our secret weapons. We lead with love. Um, we deliver with love as well, and we deliver wow.
Mm.
So that's a big thing, because you got to be able to put out your
What
work
does
has
it
to
mean
be
to deliver
exceptional.
wow?
It just means going above and beyond. Like, for me, as relates to my work, to
Mm.
make sure the code is bug free and that the design is on point with the current standards in the industry.
I think it's
That's what
more
it
than
is.
on point with the current standards. And like when we say deliver wow, Gino's being humble. I appreciate you, babes.
Ah,
When
bye.
we say deliver wow, when this is what everyone should be trying to bring to their work, it's like, how do you blow people away? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, how do you do the extra? You remember, look, this is the last thing I'm gonna say, guys. I'm cool with Delta, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't appreciate that lady. We were on a flight going to Minneapolis to then go on to West Virginia, and it was cold. It was a red eye flight. And I was like, do you have a blanket? And she turned to me and she said, the blankets are for first class only. I was like,
That's
dang.
motivation to nothing to get upset
No,
about.
I wasn't upset, but I was like, this is not wow service.
Yeah.
Like I like Delta. Like they're the best of, what we got running here. But I would say that you want to work your hardest to never
Non-reasonable
disappoint.
hospitality, you say.
What you say?
Non-reasonable hospitality. It
And
wasn't
yeah, like you want to deliver that just exceptional service, unreasonable hospitality. And you don't do that saying, I'm just okay being the little fish in the pond.
correct.
Like, no, you want to be the one that people talk about, the one that when even if everybody can't work with you because they can't afford you, they're like, yo, you are the aspiration. and that's not the little fish in the pond.
Yeah,
So
and I think we were sugarcoating it earlier about, it's based on what it is you want out of life. But to be honest, if I, bring out the inner Andy, if you're in business for one reason, right? It means
make
that,
money.
right, you want to make money. So like, why would you even want to consider being a small fish in a small pond? And not even a big fish in a small pond, but a small fish in a small pond.
Mhm.
So some things to think about, guys.
Yeah.
Tahirah?
Yeah, this was I'm glad that we had this conversation. We have, as we stated earlier, talked about a lot of different things on the podcast, but this was a purely business conversation for those persons who want some business tips that they can take and apply to their lives and to their businesses immediately. And we hope that this has been useful for you. Again, 5 decisions that if you make them, they can destroy your business. Avoid them. Don't take money from the wrong places.
Mhm.
Work your hardest to not lead with your ego. Never accept performance below the standard of excellence. Learn to say no. Never saying no will destroy you. And don't ever, ever utter the words that you want to be the small fish in the pond. You are a big fish. You are what's the biggest fish out there, Gina? I'm not
Tuna.
a
Uh,
tuna. You a tuna.
no, that's not the biggest fish.
The
Technically,
whale.
that would be a mammal, but it's yeah, the whale.
Yeah, like you are like aim to be a big deal. And a lot of times that's why we even started the podcast, guys, because for so many of us, it's scary to even articulate that. It's scary to even
Mhm.
say, I remember the first time we said we want to be the number one agency in the Caribbean. And no, at that point, like we on a bigger goals. It's
Mhm.
scary to want that and to articulate it because so many of us have been conditioned to dream the smallest dream, to
Yep.
to minimize our ideas, to minimize our goals, to shrink into the smallest version of ourselves. But you don't have to do that. Like, find the biggest dream possible and chase the hell out of that shit. Like, relentlessly. And make the quality decisions that are gonna take your life to the next level, because as we stated at the very beginning, you know, winning in business is equal parts taking action and knowing what action to take. And so
Right.
making right decisions can and will be transformative for you. And we hope that this has been a resource. Until next time,
Until next time. Love it.
thank you guys so much. See you in the next episode.
See you guys. Bye. Thanks for listening.